One week before our wedding, Haley decided to host a family dinner at our house. It was supposed to be something in asterisk mate, nothing fancy, just a casual get-together to bring everyone under one roof before the chaos of the big day kicked in. She'd planned the whole thing herself, right down to the flower arrangements on the table and the hand-labeled wine tags. That was Haley. She lived for small touches and picture-perfect moments. She said they made life feel more intentional. I left work earlier than usual that day. Honestly, I was excited. I thought maybe I'd come home, surprise her, catch her mid-prep, hair up, apron on, humming along to some soft jazz while making her signature honey garlic chicken. That's the image I had in my mind when I pulled into the driveway. I didn't expect to see an unfamiliar silver car parked right behind hers. I got out of my truck and stood there for a moment. It wasn't one of her relatives, I knew all of them by now. And it wasn't any of our friends either. At least, none that she'd ever mentioned. Still, I didn't jump to conclusions. Maybe it was a neighbor dropping something off. Maybe one of her cousins had rented a car. Maybe. I walked in through the front door and called out, "Hey, I'm home." There was laughter coming from the kitchen. Not hers alone, a man's voice, smooth and loud, with a sort of confident ease that made my gut twist before I even saw his face. I rounded the corner and froze in place. There he was, this tall guy in a fitted gray tee and joggers, barefoot, pouring red wine like he owned the place. Haley stood beside him, laughing at something he'd just said, holding 2 wine glasses in her hands like it was the most normal thing in the world. She spotted me and lit up. "Oh, hey babe. You're home early." I nodded slowly, trying to keep my face neutral. "Yeah. Finished the last meeting early." She smiled like nothing was off and turned slightly toward the man. "This is Troy. He's a friend from the gym. He just stopped by to help with a few things." "Troy. Friend from the gym. Right?" He looked over and smiled, extending a hand. "Nice to meet you, man." I shook it, or at least I think I did. I couldn't really feel anything in that moment. Just a weird buzzing in my ears and this uncomfortable pressure behind my eyes. The way he stood there, barefoot in our kitchen, leaning casually on the counter, it didn't scream, just stopped by. It screamed something else entirely. Still, I didn't say a word. I just forced a smile and went upstairs to change, leaving them in the kitchen. As I walked away, I heard her giggle at something he said. That sound, her laughter, used to be my favorite thing. But in that moment, it made my stomach churn. Dinner was strange. Not just awkward, calculated. Haley was overly cheerful, almost performative. She kept the conversation light, full of inside jokes and shared references that clearly didn't include me. Troy talked a lot about his startup, his travel schedule, his insane trainer, and Haley listened like every word he said was some kind of revelation. She barely made eye contact with me. And when she did, it was with that overly bright smile she used to wear when she was covering something up. I knew that look. I'd seen it once before, months ago, when she told me she ran into an old flame at a conference but forgot to mention they had dinner together after. After dessert, Troy stood up and stretched. "I should probably head out," he said, looking at Haley. "Got an early morning." "Thanks again for helping," she said, touching his arm, not just a casual tap either. A hold. A squeeze. Something unspoken passed between them in that moment. I caught it. I don't know if she saw me see it. I stood up. "I'll walk you out." Troy looked surprised but nodded. "Sure." We stepped out into the warm evening air and I didn't say anything at first. I just walked beside him until we reached the sidewalk. He turned toward me, hesitated. "Listen, man," he began. I didn't know. I looked at him, expression flat. "Didn't know what?" He scratched the back of his neck, clearly uncomfortable. "That she was engaged. She didn't mention you. Said she lived alone." My throat went dry. "She said what?" He held up both hands, defensive but not aggressive. "Look, I'm not trying to start anything. I thought she was single. She never brought you up." When I asked, she just laughed and changed the subject. "I wouldn't have come over if I knew. That's not who I am." I stared at him, searching for any sign that he was lying. But he looked sincere, confused, even a little embarrassed. "She's been talking about this wedding?" I asked. He shook his head. "No. First I've heard of it." I let out a breath and nodded slowly. "All right." He started to walk away, then turned back once more. "For what it's worth, you seem like a good guy. I hope it's just a misunderstanding." I didn't respond. I couldn't. When I walked back inside, Haley was in the dining room clearing plates. She smiled like everything was fine. Like I hadn't just walked into something that reeked of deception. I said nothing at first. Just leaned against the wall and watched her. She glanced up. "Everything okay?" "Yeah," I said flatly. "Walk Troy out." "Good," she said quickly, a little too quickly. He's sweet, isn't he? Total goofball, though. Did you tell him you live alone? That stopped her cold. She blinked. What? I took a step forward. He said you told him you live alone. That he didn't know you were engaged. Her face shifted, not in surprise, but strategy. Like she was figuring out which version of the truth to offer. That's ridiculous, she said. He must have misunderstood. I tilted my head. Did he? Babe, you're overreacting. He's just a gym friend. We've talked a few times after class. That's it. Do your gym friends usually hang out barefoot in our kitchen, pouring wine, while you laugh at their stories? She crossed her arms. You're being ridiculous. No. I'm being honest. Something's off, Haley. Her voice sharpened. I can't believe this. I host one dinner, and you're already spinning conspiracy theories. Maybe you should take a look at your own insecurities instead of projecting them onto me. There it was. The deflection. The gaslight. The performance. I didn't argue. I didn't raise my voice. I just nodded slowly, watching her closely. Okay, I said. She paused. Okay. Yeah, I replied. Let's just drop it. She stared at me for a long moment, waiting for the fight that never came. When it didn't, she huffed and went back to clearing dishes. I went upstairs, sat on the edge of the bed, and stared at the framed photo of us on the dresser, the one from our engagement shoot. Her hand on my chest, both of us smiling, the world at our feet. But all I could see now was the look she gave him when she thought I wasn't watching. That night, she came to bed late. I pretended to be asleep. She curled up beside me like nothing had changed. But something had. The seed of doubt wasn't a seed anymore. It was roots. Deep ones. And I knew from that moment on that everything would be different. After that night with Troy, something inside me refused to go back to sleep. I tried, I really did. I told myself I was overthinking, that I was letting a single awkward moment twist everything out of proportion. But the gut feeling? It wouldn't shut up. It was like a low hum beneath my skin, vibrating louder every time I tried to ignore it. Haley acted like everything was fine afterward. Maybe even too fine. She smiled more. Touched my arm a little extra. Initiated conversations she usually let fade out. At first, I thought maybe I'd imagined the tension, that maybe she really had nothing to hide. But then I noticed she'd turned off previews on her phone notifications. When I asked her why, she shrugged and said, "Work's been crazy. Clients get sensitive. Just playing it safe." Okay. Reasonable. But then the late-night texts started. Her phone would light up around midnight. A soft buzz, the screen face down on the nightstand. I never checked, never picked it up. I didn't want to be that guy. The one digging through private messages looking for something to be mad about. But when I'd stir in bed and catch her awake, just staring at the screen, typing in the dark, the feeling would creep back in. Not quite dread. Not quite anger. Just a quiet, nauseating knowing. She began mentioning business trips that hadn't come up before, always last minute. One of the investors wants to meet in person, or we've got a possible collaboration out of town. Once it was Austin, another time Dallas. They were always overnight. She'd pack light. Come home with souvenirs I hadn't asked for. Hotel soaps. Boutique keychains. A local brew she'd swear I had to try. But the stories never lined up. Her receipts would say La Bella Cucina when she said she had tacos. Her photos, when she remembered to post them, were vague, city skylines, lattes, inside sh*ts of anonymous hotel lobbies. Never people. Never faces. Just enough content to suggest movement without proving anything. I'd ask her gently why she hadn't mentioned a new contact or a project she'd hinted at before. She'd say things like, "I thought I told you," or, "Oh, it came together so fast." Sometimes she'd laugh it off. Other times she'd grow icy, accusing me of trying to police her independence. I didn't fight. I nodded. Took notes, mental ones. Because every denial felt like a page torn from a bigger book I hadn't read yet. Then came the excuses. I'd suggest swinging by her studio to drop off lunch, and she'd be just heading out. I'd offer to drive her to the airport for one of her trips, and she'd say she already arranged a rideshare. The Uber charges showed different addresses every time, some in the city, some far out. I even asked her once, "Where exactly are you staying tonight?" She paused. Just for a second. Then said, "Downtown Marriott. Near the convention center." That night, curiosity got the better of me. I called the front desk, said I was confirming a reservation for Haley B. The woman on the phone tapped a few keys, then said, "I'm sorry, I don't have anyone by that name here tonight." I hung up. My hand shook, but not from rage. It was disbelief. Quiet and ugly. I sat in the living room for hours that night, just replaying her voice in my head. The calm way she said the name of a hotel she wasn't even in. A few days later, she posted a story from her Instagram. A cocktail, dimly lit, captioned "Long day, earned this." I clicked through, curious and maybe a little desperate for clarity. Then I saw it. The corner of someone else's drink. Not hers. Not a double. A different shape entirely. Masculine. Clear rocks glass, no garnish. Scotch maybe? I clicked the tag. It was someone named at hightea.troy. His profile was private. The username was unfamiliar. I clicked back. My heart thudded. Troy. The same Troy who just stopped by our house. I asked her about it that night. Did you meet up with someone in Austin? You mentioned it was a solo trip. She blinked. What? The drink. Your story. Looked like two people. She smiled too quickly. That? Oh. No, that was just a bartender's drink. I sat at the bar. I didn't buy it, but I didn't push either. I just nodded again. My new habit. One day, I opened the closet and saw a gift box, small, glossy, ribboned. A men's watch inside. I didn't recognize it. I never wore watches. It wasn't my birthday. Wasn't for me. When I asked her about it, she froze, then said, "Oh, that's for my brother. He's been helping me with taxes." Her brother lived in Maine. We lived in Texas. He was a carpenter. He hadn't helped her with anything in over a year. I knew it. She knew it. But the way she said it, so breezy, so offhand, made it hard to respond. Okay, I said again. My voice flat. Cool. The red flags weren't red anymore. They were flashing. Still, I couldn't bring myself to accuse her. I wasn't sure what scared me more, the possibility that I was wrong or the confirmation that I was right. I started writing things down, dates, locations, little inconsistencies. I created a folder in my phone hidden under a boring title. Tax docs. In it, *TS of her messages, tagged photos, location pins that contradicted her alibis. One night, she left her laptop open. I didn't snoop, not at first. But the screen lit up and I caught a glimpse of a Gmail tab. The subject line was, "Can't wait for the weekend, Reheart." My stomach clenched. I didn't open it. I walked away. That same week, she brought home a new fragrance. Not perfume. Cologne. Subtle, musky, masculine. It lingered on her hoodie. I asked her, "New scent?" She said, "Oh, I spritzed some tester at a boutique. Thought it smelled nice." A boutique that apparently sprayed the inside of her sleeves? I didn't respond. That night, she came into the bedroom late. I pretended to sleep again. She slipped under the sheets and whispered, "Love you," like a reflex. I said nothing. And that's when I realized the worst part wasn't the lies. It was the silence they demanded from me. 3 days after the dinner, after the laughter, the wine, and the hollow explanations, I came home to something unexpected. The mailbox was overflowing with the usual junk, coupons, real estate flyers, a magazine neither of us subscribed to. But wedged between the noise was a plain white envelope. No return address. No stamp. Just my name typed neatly on the front. Inside were printed emails. Not *TS. Not grainy photos from a phone. Real, tangible pages like someone had gone out of their way to make sure I couldn't ignore them. My hands shook as I flipped through them. Line after line of neatly formatted text. Haley's name at the top. The recipient? Troy. Not gym friend Troy. Not casual acquaintance Troy. No, this was her Troy. The one whose name she never said again after I confronted her. The one who looked me in the eye and said he didn't know she was engaged. The earliest email was from 6 months ago. Subject, "Missed you today. Hey, sorry I bailed on class. Long day. You still owe me for ditching last week. Drinks soon?" It seemed innocent enough. If I'd seen just that one, I might have let it go. But there were more. Dozens. Most with mundane subject lines, "Dinner, that song you sent me, Thursday plans." But the content? That was another story. One stood out immediately. It was from 4 months ago. Subject, "I can't stop thinking about it." Last night was. I don't even know what to say. I felt everything all at once. I keep telling myself this is wrong, that it's a phase or a mistake, but it doesn't feel like either. It feels real. I look at him and I see comfort. I look at you and I feel everything I've been missing. I don't know what to do. I stopped reading for a while after that. My vision blurred. My hands trembled, but I forced myself to keep going. I needed the whole story. If there was ever a moment to stop pretending, it was now. Another email. 2 months ago. Subject, "Chicago? We can make it work." I told him I'd be at a conference. He doesn't ask questions anymore. He's in his own world. And I can't keep living in mine pretending this isn't happening. Let's just be careful. No social posts. No receipts. I'll use my work card. If anyone asks, I was with Julia. I felt sick. Not just emotionally, physically. My stomach knotted so tight I thought I might throw up. She wasn't just cheating. She was orchestrating it. Lying deliberately with layers. Premeditated deceit. Backup lies to cover the original ones. And then there was the photo. One glossy 4x6 print. Tucked in the back of the envelope. It was them. Haley and Troy. In a locker room mirror close together. Not exactly explicit, no nudity or anything. But int asterisk mate in the way people are when they've forgotten the rest of the world exists. Her cheek was pressed against his. Both of them flushed and smiling. His hand around her waist like it belonged there. Like it had always belonged there. They weren't even trying to hide. Someone had printed it. Someone had mailed it. Someone wanted me to know the truth, to see it for myself. I sat there on the front steps for a long time. The world kept moving. Dogs barking. A neighbor's lawn mower sputtering to life. A car alarm chirping down the street. But I was frozen. Just me and the paper in my hands, and the realization that everything I thought I'd been protecting was already gone. I walked inside, envelope tucked under my arm, and placed it in the back of my desk drawer. Locked it, not because I wanted to hide it, but because I needed to decide what came next without rage, without chaos. I wasn't ready to confront her. Not yet. I wanted to be sure. I wanted to see it with my own eyes. So I started watching. Quietly, carefully. The next few days were a blur of pretending. Pretending to sleep peacefully beside her. Pretending to believe her stories about work deadlines and gym check-ins. Pretending to be the man she thought wouldn't notice. She left for a late class that Friday. Same excuse. Same tone. She even kissed me goodbye on the cheek and called me, babe. Like nothing had changed. 15 minutes later, I was in my truck. I kept a safe distance. Enough to lose her if I needed to, but close enough to know where she went. She never made it to the gym. She drove across town, turned into a side street near a row of boutique shops, and parked. Then, just as I expected, just as that gut-deep knowing had screamed all along, Troy's car pulled in beside hers. They greeted each other with a hug that was too long, too familiar. He kissed her forehead. She leaned into him. They laughed about something. I could only guess what, and got into his car. Hers stayed parked behind. I followed again, this time more carefully. They drove to an apartment complex I didn't recognize. He parked. They didn't get out for a while. Just sat in the car, talking, leaning in. At one point, she reached over and touched his face. Then they kissed. It wasn't a stolen kiss. It wasn't frantic or guilty. It was something else, something worse. It was comfortable, familiar, like they'd done it 100 times before. I took out my phone and recorded. Not because I wanted revenge. Not because I wanted to ruin her. But because part of me still didn't believe it was real, and I needed to watch it back to convince myself. When they finally disappeared inside the building, I stopped recording. I didn't follow them up. I didn't want to see more than I already had. I didn't need to. I drove home in silence. When she returned later that night, she walked in smiling, talking about how exhausted she was, how the class had led her legs, how she was thinking of switching up instructors. I nodded. Tough night. She shrugged. Yeah, but good. I smiled back, glad to hear it. Then I excused myself, went upstairs and sent the footage to both our emails, hers and mine. Subject line, I know. No message in the body. Nothing else to say. Then I went to bed. She didn't check her phone that night. Maybe she was too tired. Maybe she was used to silence between us by now. But I laid there beside her, watching her breathe in the dark, wondering who exactly I'd been sleeping next to these past few months. Because the woman lying next to me wasn't the woman I'd asked to marry me. She was a stranger wearing the face of someone I used to know. After I sent the footage, I didn't stay up to watch her find it. I lay in bed with my back to her, pretending to sleep as I'd done so many nights before. Only this time I didn't feel helpless. I didn't feel confused or unsure or buried beneath doubt. I felt something far more dangerous. I felt calm. She didn't check her phone that night. Maybe she was too tired, or maybe she thought the night had gone exactly as planned. I lay still, hearing her breathing beside me, steady and content. She mumbled something in her sleep, I didn't catch what, and shifted under the blanket. I stared at the ceiling and counted the seconds. In the morning, I woke up before her. She was still asleep, curled on her side, one arm draped over my chest like she was staking a claim. I lay there unmoving. She'd always said she loved how safe I made her feel. That word used to mean something. Now it felt hollow. She wasn't clinging to love. She was clinging to a version of me she thought still didn't know. I got up, showered, made coffee, acted like it was any other Saturday. She eventually joined me in the kitchen, dressed in one of my shirts like she always did on weekends. Morning, she said, smiling as she poured herself a cup of coffee. I smiled back. Morning. She sipped, leaning against the counter. We should take a drive later. I was thinking maybe we could check out that wedding venue near Wimberley. The one with the outdoor patio and the string lights. The way she said it, like nothing had changed, like she hadn't just come home from another man's apartment hours ago, made my stomach twist. Yeah, I said. Sounds good. I sat across from her and watched her talk about color palettes, guest lists, whether we should go with a live band or a DJ. It was surreal, like watching a play you've seen too many times, knowing every line before it's said. And through it all, she smiled. That same polished, curated smile she used with clients and strangers. Not the real one. The real one was rarer, more relaxed, quieter, and I hadn't seen it in months. Maybe longer. She checked her phone halfway through breakfast. I watched her expression shift. Just slightly. A twitch of her mouth. Her eyes scanned the screen, fingers frozen. Then a swipe. Quick. Almost surgical. She didn't say anything. Not then. Not all morning. I followed her again that night. This time, she said she had a late session with a new client, someone doing a private training consult. She left early, dressed too nicely for a training session, wearing perfume that was more date night than dumbbells. As soon as the door shut behind her, I grabbed my keys and followed. She didn't go to her studio. She didn't even go downtown. She pulled into a Target parking lot on the east side and waited. Sat there in her car for 15 minutes. Then, just like before, Troy arrived. Different car this time. Maybe he was being cautious. Maybe he wasn't. She got out, walked to his window, leaned in. Kissed him. Just once. Quick. Like punctuation. Then she got into his car and they drove off again. I followed from a distance. This time, they didn't go to the apartment. They parked at a nearby park and walk trailhead. The sun was setting. Golden light on their faces. I sat in my truck and watched from behind tinted windows. They walked the trail together, laughing, brushing arms. At one point, she reached out and adjusted something on his jacket. An asterisk mate. Natural. Familiar. They looked like a couple who'd been together for years, not two people hiding something, but two people existing comfortably inside it. That's when it clicked. She wasn't afraid of getting caught. She didn't believe I'd ever catch on, or worse, she believed I already knew and would never do anything about it. That night, I didn't confront her either. I didn't scream or break anything or demand answers. Instead, I made a copy of the footage. I backed up the emails from the envelope. I started organizing the pieces. Not to use against her, not yet. But to remind myself that none of this was a nightmare. It was real. It was happening. And I needed to stop hoping it would fix itself. The next day, we went to brunch with her parents. She wore white. Ironic. We laughed at her dad's usual stories, talked about wedding favors and seating charts, and Haley, as always, ran the show. Smiling. Leading. Hosting. She reached under the table at one point and squeezed my hand. I looked at her and smiled. Played my role. Everyone said we looked so happy. They weren't wrong. We looked happy. But behind her smile, I saw it now, the careful placement of every word, the calculation behind every touch. She wasn't connecting. She was distracting. That evening, she took a bath and left her phone in the living room. Unlocked. She rarely made that mistake. I told myself not to do it. That I didn't need to know more. That I had enough. But I picked it up anyway. There were no messages from Troy. None in her inbox. None in her texts. She deleted everything. Except her notes app. I opened it. Tucked between grocery lists and workout routines was a draft titled December. Just that. A single word. Inside was a list of potential excuses. Didn't mean for it to happen. Wasn't looking for it, it just did. I felt alone. You were distant. I needed something for me. You changed. I didn't feel seen. No names. No dates. Just excuses. It wasn't a confession. It was a rehearsal. She was preparing for the moment she'd finally have to tell me or get caught. She was scripting her own absolution. I closed the phone and set it back exactly where it was. Later that night, she came to bed humming. I stared at the ceiling. She rested her head on my shoulder. "I love you," she whispered. I set it back, because I needed more time. I started documenting her movements. Every class, every trip, every client meeting. I created a spreadsheet color-coded, cross-referenced with credit card charges and Instagram tags. I noticed patterns, gaps that lined up with Troy's schedule. She wasn't random. She was methodical. At one point, I followed her to a grocery store where she said she was meeting a vendor about local nutrition sourcing. She spent 3 minutes inside, came out with a single protein bar, and texted me, still stuck in the meeting. I screen-recorded the timestamp, saved it to the folder. Every lie was proof of a deeper truth. She wasn't slipping up. She was making choices. Calculated ones. One night, I left my laptop open on the dining table with the folder pulled up. Not in plain view, but not hidden either. She walked by, paused, and asked, "What's that?" I shrugged. "Nothing. Wedding budget stuff." She didn't press. Just nodded and went to bed. But I saw the flicker of something in her eyes, recognition, maybe. Or fear. It was brief, but it was there. The next day, she changed her phone passcode. I didn't say a word. By then, I had enough. Emails, footage, photos, voice memos. Even my own journal, a running log of every exchange, every moment that made me question my own reality. I wasn't gathering ammunition. I was building clarity. I wasn't planning revenge. I was preparing for freedom. The wedding was 7 days away, and she had no idea it was already over. 2 days later, I called off the wedding. It was a Tuesday morning. I sat at the kitchen table, sunlight pouring in through the blinds, the same seat where she once planned seating charts and centerpieces. My laptop was open. Coffee had gone cold beside me. Haley was still asleep upstairs, or maybe just pretending to be. I clicked through the tabs: florist, caterer, venue, band, photographer. Each one canceled with a few lines of quiet finality. Change in plans. Regret to inform you. Please confirm refund eligibility. Some required phone calls. Those were harder. Not because of what I had to say, but because of how kindly people responded. "Oh no, I'm so sorry," they said, not knowing who to be sorry for. But I didn't cry. I didn't fumble. I just said the words over and over until the last one was done. Then I closed the laptop and made one final call, the locksmith. By noon, the locks were changed. By 1:30 p.m., the joint credit cards were frozen. By 3 o'clock, my name was the only one on the utilities and lease. She still didn't know. I waited. That evening, I made dinner, spaghetti, her favorite, and sat at the table alone. She came home around 7, humming as she walked through the door, bags in hand. Probably protein powder, face serum, or whatever she used now to hold herself together. She kissed me on the cheek and said, "Something smells amazing." I nodded. Thought I'd cook. We ate. Small talk. She told me about a new client with insane energy and how she might need a break after the wedding. I chewed my food and listened. When she got up to wash dishes, I handed her a napkin. "What's this?" she asked. I shrugged. "Just something I've been meaning to say." She unfolded it. Inside wasn't a message. It was a printed screenshot *T, the email I sent both of us. Subject line, "I know." Her face changed. Not shock or recognition. A crack in the mask. Her mouth opened, then closed again. She swallowed. Hard. I can explain," she said, eyes wide now. I stood slowly and walked to the sink. "No. You've already done that. Every day. In 100 different ways. Please," she said, stepping forward. "Just hear me out. Let me explain what happened." "You mean the emails?" I said. "Or the apartment. Or the kiss in the Target parking lot. Or the draft in your notes app, prepping excuses for when it all came crashing down." Her mouth trembled. "I didn't mean to hurt you. But you did." Her eyes welled with tears. I wanted to feel something, rage, grief, betrayal, but I felt nothing. Just the familiar weight of silence that had filled our house for months. "Why didn't you just leave?" I asked. "Why not end it before you found someone else?" "I didn't want to lose what we had." I laughed quietly. "You lost it the moment you decided to keep him and lie to me." She reached out, but I stepped back. "Don't." Her arms fell to her sides. "Are you calling it off?" I nodded. "Everything's canceled. The wedding. The plans. Us." "No. No, you can't just. After everything we've been through." "You mean everything I've been through while you built a second life behind my back?" She sank into a chair and buried her face in her hands. I let her cry. Eventually, she asked, "What happens now?" I looked at her, really looked. No veil. No curated narrative. Just the woman she'd become. The one I didn't recognize. "Now," I said, "you pack your things." That night, she didn't sleep in our room. She curled up on the couch with a blanket and her phone. I heard her typing furiously. Messages. Apologies. Explanations. I didn't look. I didn't care. The silence between us stretched long and sharp. The next morning, she was gone before I woke up. Left a note on the counter. "I'll come back for the rest of my stuff. Please don't hate me. I'm sorry." I left it there. That day, I texted her parents. Told them I'd canceled the wedding. Gave no details. They asked if she was okay. I said I didn't know. Then came the messages from mutual friends. Vague questions. Concerned texts. One even asked if I was having a breakdown and whether Haley was safe. She had started rewriting the story already. The victimhood rolled in fast. She told people I'd grown distant, that I wasn't the same anymore, that I had anger issues I hadn't addressed. It was a new fiction, and it spread quicker than the truth. I didn't argue. I uploaded a shared Google Drive folder with the **TS, videos and email logs. No captions. No context. I sent it to her. No words. A few hours later, she called. I let it ring. Then came the messages. Long ones. Paragraphs. Walls of text. I messed up. It didn't mean anything. It was a mistake. I didn't think you'd find out. Please don't let this be how we end. Please talk to me. Please. I turned off my phone. By the end of the week, she came back to pick up her things. I wasn't home. I made sure of it. My neighbor said she showed up looking rough. No makeup, hair pulled back, eyes red. She filled a suitcase and left the rest behind. I didn't ask where she went. Didn't care. A few days later, I ran into her brother at a coffee shop. We talked. Briefly. He apologized. Said he didn't know. That Haley had been off for months, but he never imagined it was this. Neither did I. The house got quieter after that. Not emptier, quieter. No half-lies over dinner. No forced laughter. No low buzz of dread humming under every smile. Just silence. And for the first time, that silence felt clean. I boxed up the wedding decor, the photos, the journals filled with guest lists and flower samples. I kept none of it. I donated her dress to a charity shop. The ring? I left it on the counter with a note. You can pawn this, or throw it in a lake. Either way, it doesn't belong here anymore. I never heard what she did with it. I stopped checking. The emails slowed. The calls stopped. She vanished. And with her, the weight I didn't realize I'd been carrying for months. People asked what happened. I told them, we weren't who we thought we were. That seemed to be enough. But the truth? She was someone else entirely. And I'd stopped pretending I didn't know. Within a month of the canceled wedding, everything around Haley began to unravel. Whatever safety net she thought she had with Troy vanished just as quickly as it formed. According to a mutual friend, he stopped replying to her messages, blocked her on Instagram, and removed all tags and photos of them. Whatever illusion she'd been chasing, it collapsed in on itself the moment it was exposed to daylight. Her fitness studio took a hit, too. A couple of her business partners quietly pulled out. Clients stopped renewing memberships. Word got around, and though no one said it outright, people knew. Energy shifted. Smiles faded when her name came up.